You've probably looked at a tomato and see, a salad topping, maybe the start of a great pasta sauce. But what if I told you that for hundreds of years, the world's richest and most powerful people saw something else entirely? They saw a mysterious, red menace, a killer so terrifying they were convinced it was here to wipe them all out.
Yeah, you heard that right. A biological assassin. In 1500s Europe, the tomato was the prime suspect in a massive historical crime story where the victims were the elites. Today, we're going to crack that case wide open.
So, on one side, you have the paranoid fantasy of the aristocracy, this poisonous invader from a strange new world. And on the other side, the simple, delicious truth that would one day end up on pretty much every pizza on the planet. How on earth did they get it so wrong for so long?
Okay, welcome to the crime scene. But here's the twist. This isn't a murder mystery. It's a case of self-inflicted stupidity, where the victims were, well, kind of holding the weapon the whole time.
It's almost hard to believe. You've got Europe's high society dropping dead after their fancy meals. And with all their money and influence, the best they could come up with was the tomato did it. Their detective skills were, let's just say, seriously lacking. They had the wrong guy.
Now this is the real culprit. It wasn't what they were eating. It was what they were eating off of. See, back then, being rich meant you ate off these heavy, expensive pewter plates. It was the ultimate status symbol, like the private jet of its time. Just one tiny problem. Pewter was absolutely loaded with lead.
And here's how the chemical hit job went down. It was so simple, it's painful. Tomatoes are naturally acidic, so when you slice one and put it on a plate that's full of lead, that acid starts leaching the lead right out of the metal and into the food. They were literally poisoning themselves, serving up a side of lead poisoning with every bite. Their fear was just based on a complete misunderstanding of, well, anything scientific. It's like being afraid of the original wild banana just because it was packed with hard, marble-sized seeds and had almost no fruit. They saw a pattern: eat a tomato, get sick, and just jumped to the wrong conclusion. And we're not talking about a short-lived fad. This was a 200-year-long PR nightmare for the tomato. For 2 whole centuries, the wealthiest people in Europe avoided this fruit like the plague, all because they were too proud to figure out their dinner plates were the real killer.
And the paranoia was real. They treated the tomato like some kind of hostile alien plant. You know how people today will hunt down every last shoot of bamboo in their yard because they're terrified it's going to grow through their house's foundation? That's the level of fear they had for a vegetable or, a fruit.
But, okay, let's put ourselves in their shoes for just a second. If all the rich, powerful people you knew started getting sick and dying right after eating this weird new fruit from another continent, would you be the first one to take a bite? Probably not. Fear is a powerful motivator.
So while the rich were busy accidentally poisoning themselves, the working class was figuring it all out. Not with science books, but with something way more effective. They were just too poor to afford the poison in the first place.
And really, it all comes down to this. The elite had their fancy lead-laced pewter. The peasants, they ate from simple wooden plates or clay bowls. No lead, no poison, no problem. Being poor, ironically, kept them safe.
But the peasants had a different enemy, and it wasn't an imaginary one. It was time. See, without refrigerators, a huge tomato harvest was basically a ticking time bomb. They had to find a way to make it last before it all turned to mush. For them, it was about survival, not vanity. And this desperation led to an absolutely brilliant survival hack: sun-drying. The process is pure genius. You slice the tomatoes thin, cover them in salt to draw out all the moisture, and then just let the sun do its thing, baking them into a food that could last for months.
The change was just incredible. This watery, fresh fruit transformed into a shriveled, chewy, flavor-packed little powerhouse. The sun concentrated all the natural sugars, turning what the rich thought was a poison into a kind of savory, delicious candy. A culinary breakthrough born out of pure necessity.
So it's time for the verdict. The case is officially closed. The tomato was framed, and thanks to the ingenuity of the common folk, it was about to go from a feared invader to an absolute global superstar.
And here's what the elites completely missed: the tomato's secret arsenal. It's packed with lycopene, a killer antioxidant. Its natural acidity, the very thing that caused them so many problems, is actually a great meat tenderizer, kind of like the enzymes in papaya. And the whole plant is just a little machine for turning sunlight into sugar.
And you know what happened to this peasant-made candy? It became a smuggler's dream.
They were lightweight, they were valuable, and people wanted them. A whole underground economy popped up, spreading these little flavor bombs all across Europe, completely bypassing high society.
I mean, that's the ultimate twist, right? The people with no power and no money took the one thing the rich were terrified of and turned that biological assassin into a global necessity.
So here's the final judgment. The tomato, one of the most eaten crops on the planet, only ever killed people because they were, quite literally, too rich for their own good. They chose status over survival, and a piece of fruit took the fall.
So think about this. Next time you open your fridge and grab a bottle of ketchup, you're holding a direct descendant of the smuggled survival candy that outsmarted the entire aristocracy of Europe. Now that's absolutely wild.